Hey everybody, welcome to the studentloanjustice.org live stream. My name is Alan Collins. I am founder of studentloanjustice.org. Welcome if you're new. We're glad that you found us. We are the oldest, largest, and really the only real citizens group actually fighting for student loan justice. For the first 15 years of our existence, we were fighting very moderately for the return of bankruptcy protection to student loans. Now, however, this lending system has, by all reasonable metrics and measures, catastrophically failed. It is a failed lending system, and it's time to literally get rid of it. The good news is we started a petition on March 13th calling for the president to cancel all federally owned student loans by executive order. That's a very important distinction between our plan and every other student loan cancellation plan that we're hearing about. Our plan doesn't require Congress. Our plan doesn't require raising money to pay for loan cancellation. That's nonsense in the first place. It doesn't have to be that way. The taxpayers already paid for these loans. And they didn't pay much, by the way. As a country, we just got through throwing out $500 billion in PPP loans that don't need to be repaid and that all of them add to the national debt. Well, the president can cancel $1.5 trillion, $1.6 trillion in federally owned student loan debt and not need one penny of taxpayer money to do it and not add one dime to the national debt. So I'm very glad to say that our petition has picked up a lot of steam. We've got like 736 or 7,000 signatures at this point. We need to get it up to 5 or 10 million signatures. It is looking like we're going to have a new president. I could be wrong, but all signs point to Biden being our president at this point. So we really need to push. And let me also just say, it's time for this lending system to go. And Joe Biden, if you don't like Trump, you probably love Joe Biden. Well, Joe Biden is not the best candidate in the world on student loans. Donald Trump was terrible, don't get me wrong. But Joe Biden is no knight in shining armor. He's got to be pushed. Now, the best news I can tell you is that thankfully, we are no longer a lone voice in the wilderness calling for loan cancellation by executive order. Thankfully, leading Democrats in the Senate, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, and others, have, I'm not going to say stolen, but we'll say appropriated our idea. And they introduced a Senate resolution calling for the president to cancel student loans by executive order. So we are in full play, folks. But here's the danger. The Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren plan, unfortunately, it's pretty much crap. I mean, it is very good in that it legitimizes and validates that we are right, that the president can indeed cancel all federally owned student loans by executive order. That was a point of some contention. We always knew that he could, but now we have leading senators validating that, yes, indeed, he can do that. So that's very good. The bad thing about their proposal is that it calls for up to $50,000 in loan cancellation. That could mean anything. And they couched it in a bunch of sort of racially divisive rhetoric, talking about how people of color deserve to get more forgiveness, or I don't know, something. You can read the resolution for yourself. But that up to $50,000 part is really kind of a deal killer in the first place, because that gives full discretion to the president and, more importantly, the Department of Education to do whatever they want. And we already know that the Department of Education has no desire or intentions of canceling any loans. So, folks, we are in a very good spot right now, but we have to be very, very strong and not allow some lame, partial half measure to be a substitute for what actually has to happen. This lending system has got to be ended. These loans have got to be 100% canceled. And by the way, the 15% of all student loans that cannot be canceled directly by presidential executive order, we need to return bankruptcy protections to those loans. It's just got to happen. So if you have any, and by the way, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. If you're watching us on YouTube, I'm sorry, but you need to come to our group if you want to participate in our live streams. I know most of our people watch this on YouTube, so so you should really come to our Facebook group and hang around, usually about 6:30 or 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we're doing these live streams nearly every day. Yeah, so folks, we're in a good spot. We're in a far better spot now today than we were when the presidential campaign started over a year ago, when we moved to Iowa and did all that stuff. We got a lot done. I'm not going to repeat it here, but let's suffice it to say we are in the best position we've ever been in. But what we really, really, really need to do right now is grow the petition. You can see the link to it either down there, maybe up there, maybe over there. I'm not sure, depending on how you're watching this. But this petition, growing this petition will make everything way easier for everybody involved. You know, we've got coming up on maybe kind of close to 1 million signatures now. That's not bad. But there are 55 million people in the country who are either co-signed on loans or hold the loans themselves. 55 million people. And 80% of those people were never going to be able to repay their loans, even before the pandemic. Hey, we have a comment here from Jason Spots. Cancel the loans and stimulate the economy. That's right, Jason. You know, I probably should focus on that a little bit more than I do. It's a catastrophically failed lending system, folks. It's got to be failed. It's got to be canceled. But, you know, on the plus side, there is no better way to stimulate the economy. There just is not. You know, the people who are being hit hardest by this pandemic are younger people, women. At least that's what I hear. Younger people, women, lower income people working in service sector jobs. Pretty much the exact same demographic as people who hold student loans. So there's no better way to stimulate the economy, at least no better targeted way, than to cancel these loans. And guys, even if a pandemic was not happening, it's a failed lending system. 80% of everybody was never going to be able to pay. The default rate of everybody walking around with student loans today has got to be 75, if not 80%, or even higher. So the subprime home mortgage default rate was like 18% at its peak. So we are 3 or 4 times higher than that now. It's a failed lending system. It's got to be taken out to the back and shot. It's got to be taken to the bath and drowned in the tub. But back to the fiscal stimulus thing, the best estimates are that canceling student loans would increase GDP by something like $100 billion a year, between $78 and $105 billion a year. But that analysis is wrong. And the Sanders Institute did the analysis. I trust that they did a fine job with their model. But what they did not do, what they completely neglected, was taking into account the increased borrowing capacity that freeing up $1.5 trillion in debt would cause. So people would be able to go out and get a loan and buy a house, buy a car, start a business, all of those fun things that people like to do. That would probably add at least as much as the Sanders Institute said, again, to the stimulus. And, you know, there's all kinds of intangible things that would be super good for the country, that freeing the country of this ridiculous, catastrophically failed, harshly predatory and unconstitutional, I might add, debt would have on the economy. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you can't predict. And I think all those things would put our economy on Hot Wheels. It would greatly boost our economy. So, and by the way, it doesn't cost a dime. The taxpayers already paid for these loans. They don't need to pay twice. The president can cancel these loans. Period. No money even has to change hands. Nothing added to the national debt. So on the fiscal stimulus tree, this is by far and away the lowest hanging fruit. And quite frankly, in a more sane, rational, non-political world, canceling these loans would have been the first thing that the president and Congress did, rather than hopefully what will be the next thing. So keep that in mind. Hey, Tom Murphy says, Alan, you should reach out to Joe Rogan. Have you tried? He is on our side of this issue. We have reached out to Joe Rogan, Tom, and you're exactly right. You know, Joe Rogan, MMA guy, etc., internet personality, very famous guy, good guy. He was among the first sort of famous mainstream pop culture people to decry the fact that student loans were uniquely exempted from the same standard bankruptcy protections that every other type of loan has. And, you know, I wrote an article like 3 years ago in Inside Higher Ed, which is a very hoity-toity insiders higher education magazine. And I made sure to point out the fact that while every college president hasn't even mentioned bankruptcy and student loans in the same sentence, here we have this pop culture icon MMA guy who, by all rights, probably shouldn't know a damn thing about student loans. And even he was decrying the fact that bankruptcy was gone for student loans. So I used Joe Rogan to shove in the face of the college presidents who have conveniently stuck their heads in the sand. We have reached out to him, Tom. Haven't heard anything back. And quite frankly, I think that's a little bit astonishing. And, you know, unfortunately, we have reached out to a lot of celebrities. And for whatever reason, and I think that's going to change, and I'll have more to say about that on a future live stream. I don't know why that is, but at this point, celebrities appear to be quite afraid of touching this issue. Like, I don't know who they're offending. I don't know what deep, dark, invisible hand is preventing them from speaking out on this very important issue. And we have seen some stuff from like Nicki Minaj and Alyssa Milano and others. But yeah, Joe Rogan, of all people, should be on our side for sure. And if you have any ins with Joe Rogan, and, you know, everybody out there can think of a favorite celebrity of theirs who they think should be repping our issue. And, you know, while we can't pay them, I can guarantee them that it would help many, many celebrities with their fan base. And that almost doesn't matter how old their fan base is. Like, our demographics, of course, are like whatever the prime demographic is, the 18 to... or the 22 to 34, whatever. But, you know, people affected by student loan debt range in age from 18 to over 80. In fact, I just posted this afternoon a woman, 93 years old, who wrote to me. She said, you know, I've got $80,000 in student loans. I was trying to help my nephew, and the loans just went crazy, et cetera, et cetera. 93 years old. We have people in our group who are losing their Social Security benefits. So no matter the celebrity, you know, when 55 million people in the country have student loans, 44 million of them are freaking out about them. That's pretty much every celebrity's fan base to a certain extent. But yeah, guys, we need to get some celebrities on our side more than we have up to this point. So please do that. Hey, Tom Murphy also says, what if we did mandatory years of service to forgive debt? You know, those are all good ideas, Tom, for the next lending system, the next one. This one here is toast. Congress had 20 or 30 years to come up with a good solution for this lending system, and they grossly neglected doing that. It's too late even to return bankruptcy protections. You know, they could return bankruptcy protections tomorrow, and all that would cause is 15, 20, 25 million people to wind up having to file for bankruptcy. Now, we're a better country than that. And it's too late to start playing deals with public service. You know, we've got public service loan forgiveness, and 99% of the people aren't getting it because the Department of Education has no desire or intentions of forgiving any loans. So I'm all for all sorts of solutions that people might throw out for the next higher education financing system. But that's the next problem, folks. The 1.52 trillion pound gorilla in the room right now that is threatening this country right now is the one that we are fighting. And it's too late for any half measures. It's time to cancel the loans, period. Jason Spot says, Alan, do you know anything about student loan borrowers that have left the country so they could get out of their student loan debt to live a better quality life overseas? We may having a brain drain in America because of expatriate. Jason, good question. I have mixed feelings about that. Number one, yes, we've got a ton of people that we've connected with over the years who have literally fled the country because of their student loans. We have people in every continent except for maybe Antarctica. So you name the country and we have people. In fact, we have a state chapter group which is devoted exclusively to expatriates. Our members have been featured on CNBC and in many, 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 many other media outlets who specifically because they literally fled the country because of their student loan debt. Now, here's the thing, folks. Whose country is this? Does this country belong to the Department of Education? Does this country belong to the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., the lobbyists, the student loan companies, the banks on Wall Street? Is this their country or is this our country? And if you're going to allow yourself to get scared out of our country for something as fucking stupid as student loan debt, well, I'm sorry, man, but I can't respect that position very much at all. And I have empathy for, and I respect the members that we have who are expatriates and living overseas. But guys, this is our country, worth staying and fighting for. If you let yourself get pushed around because of student effing loans, I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. We're a better people than that. And we did nothing wrong to get chased out of our own country for. This is not a hard battle to fight, folks. Every time we have gotten into a dust-up with our opposition, we have won. We were featured top story on 60 Minutes a number of years ago. Sally Mae, who at the time was the biggest, baddest kid on the block, they declined to be interviewed. They ran away. Even the Department of Education declined to be interviewed for this 60 Minutes piece. That speaks volumes. Everywhere we go, the bad guys, they scurry like cockroaches when the lights are turned on because they know they have pulled the largest, most reprehensible, most nationally threatening, unconstitutional lending scam that's ever been pulled in the history of our country. And they feel bad about that. And they know that they cannot stand up to the harsh lights of scrutiny. So if you're thinking about leaving the country, I would urge you, don't be a pussy. Pardon my French, but come on, toughen up. Find your spine. This is our country worth fighting for. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people have died for our freedom. And to abandon this country on account of being afraid of the student loan goon squad? Come on, man. Give me a break. Okay, folks, I went really late last night. I went like 40 minutes last night. I'm going to keep it to 20 minutes tonight. I know there's a lot more that we could talk about, but suffice it to say, right now and between now and the end of the year, everything gets easier for us. Getting these loans gone. And I mean gone. I don't mean a partial cancellation. I don't mean forgiveness where you have to pay tax at the end of the deal. I'm saying gone. Our chances of getting that done, and the chances are good, but they hinge entirely, really, on how many people we can get together. And the one thing that really is getting people together on our side is this petition. So change.org/cancel student loans. Do everything you can. And we have very handy hints at very easy actions you can take on that petition. You can read it. 5 easy things you can do by email, by Twitter, by other means. 5 very easy clickable things that you can do right now to help get this petition up to, who knows, 5 million, 10 million signatures, 20 million. That's in the realm of possibility. You know, when 44 million people should be glad to know about our petition and should be glad to sign, that's a very high upper limit. And we have barely even scratched the surface. We are the pioneers on this, folks. You and me. I kid you not. We are the tip of the spear. In fact, we are the spear. We are the eye of the storm. In fact, we are the storm. So what you do sitting there, what you do or what you don't do, will tell the tale on this battle. And it is a very important battle because remember, we're not fighting just for ourselves. We're fighting for tens, hundreds of millions of citizens who are going to follow in our footsteps. They don't deserve to be conquered and enslaved because of fucking student loans. Pardon my French again. They don't deserve that. We don't deserve it, but we've got to fight for ourselves. So do everything you can to grow that petition. If we can have 10 million signatures by the time the next president is sworn in, that will not be too many. So come on, guys. Starts with you. Always has. Make it happen. Good luck. Let's make this next week count. Good luck. God bless. Godspeed. And let's get this done, folks. Peace.